My family banned me from Christmas until I apologized to my brother. But when I finally stopped paying every bill, their life fell apart overnight. I, Evan, 29, male, work as a machinist. It's not a flashy job, but it pays the bills. And last time I checked, bills don't care if your job sounds cool. I make good money, work long hours, and I actually like what I do. Precision, structure, things that make sense. My family, on the other hand, likes things that look good. Ryan, 24, male, my younger brother, is the family favorite. He's always been. He's still living at home and thinks freelance digital marketing counts as a career. That's code for sleeping until noon, eating the food, and then posting motivational quotes about hustle culture. Every family gathering turns into a Ryan highlight reel. Ryan's working on his own app idea. Ryan's got great potential. Ryan helped fix the internet last week. Yeah, by unplugging the router and plugging it back in. Genius. Meanwhile, I've been the one quietly keeping everything from falling apart. After Dad's surgery 2 years ago, they were behind on hospital bills, so I covered it. Then it was the electric bill, the phone plan, groceries, a temporary mortgage payment that somehow became permanent. It started with me wanting to help, being a decent son. Dad couldn't work for a few months, Mom was drowning in stress, and Ryan was networking, so I stepped in thinking I'd take care of things until they got back on their feet. Only they never really stood up again. Mom got comfortable letting me handle it. Dad stopped asking how the bills got paid. Ryan kept spending money he didn't have, and I just kept fixing it. It wasn't like I didn't try to stop. I did once. I remember it perfectly. It was summer, hot as hell, and I decided enough was enough. The electric bill had come in, $180. I stared at it, thought, not this time, and I didn't pay it. 3 days later, my phone blew up. Mom's voice cracked through the speaker, crying so hard I could barely understand her. Evan, the lights are out. The power company shut us off. Your dad's still sick. How could you do this to us? I just sat there, phone pressed to my ear, listening to her panic like I'd committed a crime. I asked, didn't Ryan say he'd cover this one? She sniffled. Ryan's been stressed. You know he's trying to get his business off the ground. Please, Evan, we can't survive without you. Survive without me. That line stuck. I caved. I paid it right then, not because I wanted to, but because hearing my mom sound like that made me feel like the world's worst person. The lights came back on, and suddenly everyone was fine again. No thank you, no payback, just silence. That's when it clicked. Guilt was their weapon. They didn't yell. They didn't beg. They just guilt-tripped me into compliance. Every single time I tried to pull away, they found a new way to reel me back in. Dad would call it helping the family. Mom would cry about how ungrateful I'd become. Ryan would toss in some backhanded guilt trip like, bro, we all know you make more money than anyone here. Yeah, because I work. I started noticing the pattern everywhere. When Dad's meds weren't covered, I paid. When the internet bill accidentally didn't go through, I fixed it. When Ryan's work laptop broke, I bought him a new one. Each time they swore it was temporary. Each time it became another tab they never planned on closing. I remember one Sunday dinner. I stopped by after work, grease still on my hands, just to check in. Mom smiled and said, you should clean up before sitting down, honey. We're having roast. Ryan looked at me and smirked. Man, you really live at that workshop, huh? You gotta get a real career like me. I looked at his plate. He was eating food I bought. I said, you mean a career that comes with free room and board? He laughed like it was a joke. But the silence from my parents told me they didn't find it funny. They never did when I reminded them who was actually footing the bills. By the end of that night, I realized something that honestly pissed me off more than anything. They only noticed me when something went wrong. That realization hit harder than I expected because once you see it, you can't unsee it. The holidays, the fake smiles, the small talk, all of it revolved around keeping the illusion alive while I quietly financed it. Ryan was the potential. Mom was the heart. Dad was the fighter. And me, I was the damn power company. That night, I sat in my apartment, small, quiet, everything paid for by me, and stared at my phone, thinking about how I got here, somewhere between being a good son and being their lifeline. I stopped being seen as family. I wasn't their son anymore. I was their safety net, their backup plan, their walking wallet. A week before Christmas, the family group chat lit up. Christmas dinner, confirm your seat. I scrolled through the list, Mom, Dad, Ryan, Aunt Patrice, Uncle Ray, even Cousin Tammy, who only shows up when there's free food. My name wasn't there. At first I thought it was an oversight. I typed, did you forget me? A few seconds later the dots appeared. Then Ryan replied, limited seats this year. Try next Christmas if you chill. I stared at my screen. Chill? The guy who's been living off me for 2 years is telling me to chill? No one said a word. Mom didn't reply. Dad reacted with a thumbs-up emoji like a coward. Aunt Patrice sent a heart like this was some wholesome family update. I typed again, "You serious?" Then I waited. The chat went dead. I called Mom. The sound of laughter and clinking plates spilled through the speaker before she even said hello. I could hear Ryan in the background bragging about something. Probably his new business. "Hey, Mom," I said. "What's going on with the Christmas list?" She sighed like I was already exhausting her. "You're not invited this year, Evan." I blinked. "Not invited? Why?" Her tone turned sharp. "Because you need to apologize to your brother for what happened at his birthday dinner. You embarrassed him." My jaw tightened. "You mean when I asked why he's bragging about crypto profits while borrowing rent from me?" "Exactly," she snapped. "You made him feel small. We were celebrating him." I almost laughed. Celebrating him for what? Being unemployed in a more creative way? "Mom, he's been starting a business for 3 years. He doesn't even have a website." "Evan, stop being negative," she said. "If you want to come for Christmas, say sorry to Ryan." I paused, then asked flatly, "Are you serious?" "Completely," she said, her voice firm now. "Family means respect, so don't come by until you apologize." Funny, respect only ever went one direction in this family. That's when I hung up. I didn't throw the phone or yell. I just hung up, sat there in my quiet apartment, and realized this was the most peaceful December I'd ever had. Later that night, my friend Mark texted me, "You doing anything for Christmas? We've got room. Come by, man." Normally I'd make an excuse, but this time I showed up. Mark's place was nothing fancy. Small house, kids running around, the smell of garlic bread and something burning in the oven. His wife handed me a beer and said, "Hope you like overcooked lasagna because that's dinner." It was loud, messy, real. Nobody was pretending to be perfect. Mark's oldest daughter made fun of him for burning the bread. Everyone laughed, and I found myself laughing too. The kind of laugh that doesn't feel forced or measured. At some point, Mark's wife asked about my family plans. I told her the truth. Got banned from Christmas. Long story. She gave me a sympathetic look, but didn't dig. She just slid me another plate and said, "You're here now." That hit harder than it should have. After dinner, we sat outside. Mark handed me a mug of hot chocolate and said, "So, your brother's still freeloading, huh? Still? It's his full-time job." He chuckled. "You ever just tell him no?" "Yeah," I said, "and last time I did, Mom made me feel like I unplugged Dad's life support." He winced. "That bad?" "Worse." We sat there for a while watching his kids chase each other in the yard. It was chaos, but it was real. No manipulation, no guilt, no performance, just noise and warmth. I couldn't remember the last time I felt that around my own family. At one point, Mark's little boy ran up holding a broken toy car. "Uncle Evan, fix it." The uncle part threw me off. I wasn't used to being called that. I took the toy, twisted a loose screw, and handed it back. The kid grinned like I'd just saved the day. That stupid toy car did more for my mood than any thank you text my family's ever sent. Around midnight, I drove home. Snow was coming down, soft but steady. The streets were quiet, and for once so was my phone. No guilt calls, no last minute "can you send money?" Texts, just silence. When I pulled into my driveway, I glanced at my phone again. The group chat was still active. New photos, Ryan posing in front of the Christmas tree. Mom's caption, "Family is everything." I scrolled through them once, saw the pile of presents, the smiling faces, the fake warmth, then put the phone face down. And that's when it really sank in. Love isn't supposed to come with invoices. It's not supposed to be earned through autopay. It's supposed to feel like tonight did. Simple, honest, no strings attached. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like anyone's son. And weirdly, that didn't feel sad. It felt like peace. For the first time in forever, my phone wasn't lighting up with guilt trips or urgent payment requests. I woke up the next morning feeling like a human instead of a utility company. I threw on my jacket and headed out for coffee. There was a line at my usual spot, and I was half awake scrolling through work emails when I heard that annoying nasal voice behind me. Aunt Patrice, of course. She's the type of woman who acts like her life's a talk show, always dressed like she's about to host a church fundraiser, even on a Tuesday morning. The cashier looked up and smiled. "Morning, Patrice. You want your usual?" She nodded, then spotted me. Her face tightened like she just smelled something unpleasant. "Oh, look who's here. Haven't seen you since you threw a fit about Christmas." I blinked. "A fit? You mean the one where I wasn't invited?" The cashier's eyes darted between us, sensing tension. Patrice leaned over the counter and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "He's sensitive about success." The barista froze, unsure how to react. I smiled slow and calm. "Says the woman whose biggest achievement is living off her husband's retirement check." You could hear the espresso machine choke. The barista bit her lip, trying not to laugh. A guy at the corner table straight up snorted into his muffin. Patrice's face went red enough to match her coat. She stammered something about respecting elders before storming out with her coffee half full. The barista grinned and said, "You want a free shot of espresso for that?" I laughed. Nah, that was satisfying enough. When I left, I felt lighter. It was small, but it felt like balance, like karma finally remembered my address. By afternoon, I was back at work. It was loud in the shop, machines running, metal clanging, my kind of peace. During lunch, my phone buzzed. Ryan. I almost ignored it, but curiosity won. "Yo, can you front me 600? He said like it was the most casual request in the world. "I'm getting an engagement ring for my girlfriend." I actually laughed out loud. "You're asking me to pay for your proposal? It's just until Friday," he said. "You know I'm good for it. Ryan, you've been good for it since 2019. He chuckled, trying to sound confident. "Come on, man, you know how much this means to me." I hung up mid-sentence. 10 seconds later, a text came through. "Come on, wallet boy, don't be dramatic." I stared at it, smirked, and typed back. "Pretty sure your girlfriend doesn't want to marry a broke boy. Get a job and buy it yourself." Delivered. Read. No reply. Good. I tossed the phone aside and got back to work. My CO workers could probably tell something had shifted in me because when my boss told me to take the lead on a new job, I didn't hesitate. For once, my focus wasn't split between work and whatever nonsense my family was cooking up. When I clocked out that evening, I stopped by the grocery store, grabbed some takeout, and drove home in silence. No calls, no chaos, just quiet until my phone rang again. This time the name on the screen made me pause. "Grandpa." I answered immediately. "Hey, what's up?" His voice was steady, low. "Why weren't you at Christmas dinner?" For a second I thought he was mad, but there was something off in his tone. Not disappointment, more like curiosity. I exhaled and told him everything, not sugar-coated, not dressed up, just the truth, how they banned me, how Mom said I had to apologize to Ryan, how they've been guilt-tripping me into paying bills since Dad's surgery. He didn't interrupt once, just listened. When I finished, there was a long silence on the other end. I started to think the call dropped until I heard him take a slow breath. "They banned you," he said finally. "Yeah, for not kissing that brat's ass. Pretty much." Another pause, then a sound that was half sigh, half chuckle. "I'll deal with them." That's all he said. No lecture, no sympathy speech, no advice, just 4 words. "I'll deal with them." I asked, "Grandpa, what do you mean?" Click, call ended. I sat there for a moment staring at my phone. The old man doesn't play around, so whatever deal with them meant, it was going to be something. Later that night I got a group text from Mom. "Did you talk to Grandpa?" I didn't reply. Another message popped up, this time from Ryan. "Wow, running to Grandpa now? Pathetic." I tossed the phone aside. Let them squirm. For years I've been the one panicking while they played dumb. Now the tables were turned, and it felt right. I ate my dinner in peace, watched an old movie, and when I finally went to bed, I slept like a rock because for the first time someone in the family actually got it. And if Grandpa was handling it, I knew something was about to change for them, not for me. 3 days later, my phone buzzed early in the morning. It was Grandpa. "Come by," he said. No hello, no explanation, just come by. I drove over after work. He lives out on the edge of town in the same brick house he's had since the 70s. Everything smells like old wood, oil, and black coffee. The man's kitchen hasn't changed in 50 years. When I walked in, he was sitting at the table with his mug. No sugar, no cream, just liquid asphalt in a cup. "Sit," he said, nodding to the chair across from him. I grabbed a seat, and before I could even say anything, he pushed a folded paper toward me. It was a checkbook stub, recent, my mom's name on it. "I've been helping them too," he said. "Matter of fact, cash, groceries, bills. Your mom calls them emergencies. Funny thing, there's one every week." I let out a low whistle. "So they've been milking you too?" He grinned, that dry, crooked grin he gets before saying something blunt. "Milking me, kid. They've turned it into a dairy farm." I couldn't help laughing. "You're just realizing this now?" "Oh, I've known," he said. "I was waiting to see when you'd get fed up. Didn't think it would take you this long." He took a slow sip of coffee, staring at me over the rim of his mug. "You handled Christmas better than I expected. Your dad would have caved in 2 seconds." "Yeah, well, I said. I'm done being the family ATM. He nodded, satisfied. Good, because they did the same thing to me. Different version, same trick. I raised a brow. You? Yep, he said. Back when your great-grandfather was still around. He thought I was a screw-up because I didn't join his business, cut me out for a while. But the rest of the family, oh, they still came to me for cash. Needed loans, handouts, you name it. I paid for everyone else's mistakes until one day I stopped. Guess what happened? They panicked. They starved. Learned real fast what no means. He leaned back, the creaky chair groaning. You did the right thing, kid. Don't let them guilt you back in. People like that don't change unless you cut the power line. Cut the power line, I repeated. That's poetic for you. He shrugged. I'm old, not stupid, and I'm not losing another dime to those ingrates. You shouldn't either. Let him sink or swim. We sat there for a long time, talking about things I never knew he went through. How he built everything he has from scratch while the rest of the family played nice to stay on the will. He told me, they'll call you selfish. They'll say you're cruel. It's just their way of saying you stopped paying for their mistakes. Ignore it. It was weird, but for the first time in a long time I felt like someone in the family was actually on my side. By the time I left, the sky was orange and fading. Grandpa handed me a thermos of coffee for the road and said, when you finally tell them to get lost, don't look back. They'll survive. On the drive home, those words looped in my head. I got home, dropped my jacket on the couch, and opened my laptop. For years, I've had online statements, receipts, transfers, everything sitting there like unclaimed evidence. I started pulling it all together. It took hours, line after line, power bills, mortgage payments, medical copays, car repairs, grocery store transfers. Every time they said just this once, there's a timestamp proving it was never just once. By the end, I had a digital binder thick with proof. I titled the document The Binder, then printed the whole thing and slid it into a black binder, something solid I could drop on the table when the time came. Then I started cutting ties one by one. I canceled auto payments. The power company gone, internet gone. I split the family phone plan, kept only my line, and killed payment on the rest. I removed my card from every shared account, transferred all funds back into my personal checking, and set up alerts so nothing slipped through. Each confirmation email felt like unhooking a chain from my neck. When I was done, I closed the laptop, leaned back, and breathed. For the first time, I wasn't their fallback. I was free. The peace lasted exactly 24 hours. The next morning, the guilt campaign began. Mom's text hit first. Wow, you're really making Grandpa turn against us. I can't believe you do that to family. 5 minutes later, Ryan chimed in. You're manipulating him. He's old, Evan. Stop brainwashing him. You're sick. Then Aunt Patrice piled on like clock, impressed. Family doesn't weaponize elders for attention. You should be ashamed. I read them all while sitting at my workbench, a wrench in one hand, my phone in the other. I didn't reply. Instead, I screenshotted every single message, saved them to a new folder named Proof of Guilt Trips, then put my phone face down and got back to work. By lunch, the messages started turning desperate. We just need to talk. Grandpa's confused. You're tearing this family apart. I couldn't help but laugh. No, I muttered to myself. I just stopped funding it. That night, when I got home, I scrolled through the messages one more time. Each one read like panic disguised as concern, proof that Grandpa was right. They only scream when the faucet runs dry. Before bed, I opened the family group chat, the same one that once blew up with their fake Christmas joy. I hovered for a second, then hit delete chat. The silence that followed felt earned. For the first time in years, I didn't fall asleep stressed. No guilt, no buzzing phone, no urgent transfers waiting for me in the morning, just quiet. And I slept like a rock. For the first time in years, I was spending my own money on me. That weekend, I went to the hardware store. I'd had my eye on this monster of a toolbox for months. Matte black, heavy drawers, smooth sliding rails. Every time I walked past it, I'd think next month because there was always another bill that wasn't mine. Now I swiped my card and watched the cashier print the receipt with no hesitation. The thing barely fit in the back of my truck. It felt ridiculous and perfect at the same time. Driving home, I stopped at the grocery store. I bought steak, real butter, and the good coffee. The kind that comes in a tin, not the cheap bag I used to grab when my bank balance was bleeding. I grilled the steak that night and ate it at my own table. Lights on, bills paid, fridge full. The silence didn't bother me anymore. It was company. The next day, I went for a walk around the block. No calls, no stress, just cold air and my own thoughts. Then I heard a voice behind me. Well, look who's alive. I turned, Uncle Ray. He was holding a coffee and wearing that smug grin he probably practices in the mirror. He walked up, slapped my shoulder. "Heard you've been having a little attitude lately. Word gets around." "Yeah," I said. "Word from who? The Freeloaders Union?" He laughed, the kind of fake laugh that says he didn't get the joke. "You'll crawl back to your family, they always do." I raised an eyebrow. "You mean like you did when Grandpa cut you off?" That wiped the smile right off his face. He cleared his throat and walked away, muttering something about disrespectful kids. I kept walking, grinning the whole time. That night, 2 days before New Year's, I got a voicemail from Mom. Her voice was tight, like she was trying to sound calm but already losing it. "Since you won't apologize, skip New Year's too and stop brainwashing your grandfather. He's old, Evan. You're confusing him." I deleted it without listening to the rest. The peace held for another 2 days. Then the phone rang again. I checked the screen. Mom. I almost ignored it, but something told me to pick up. Her voice hit before I even said, "Hello, Evan, the mortgage didn't clear. The lights are out again. What did you do?" I sat back in my chair. Her panic sounded a lot like the guilt trip from that summer years ago, the one that used to make me fold instantly. Except now it just sounded predictable. "I didn't do anything," I said calmly. "I stopped paying for things that aren't mine. You can't just... We have your father here. He still hasn't got back on his feet, and Ryan's still unemployed," I cut in. "Or did he get that engagement ring yet?" She hesitated. "That's not the point. We have responsibilities." "No," I interrupted again. "You have responsibilities. You just got used to outsourcing them to me." There was a pause. I heard her sniff, voice breaking. "Please, Evan, we can't keep up." I stood, grabbed my jacket, and said, "I'll come by." "Bring the binder." She started to ask what that meant, but I hung up before she could finish. I pulled the binder from my desk drawer. Black cover, thick, heavy with printouts and receipts. It wasn't flashy, but it was solid proof, the kind of thing that ends arguments before they start. I tossed it in the passenger seat and headed out. The snow was coming down hard, soft flakes catching in the headlights. The streets were quiet except for the hum of my truck. The binder slid a little every time I turned. I rested my hand on it at a stoplight like it was a weapon I was about to unsheath, because that's exactly what it was. The drive was short, but the whole way there I was calm, not angry, not nervous, just steady. This wasn't revenge. It was closure. For years they'd called me selfish when I stopped paying, called me dramatic when I stood my ground, said family takes care of each other while they drained me dry. Now, for once, I was the one holding the power, literally and financially. The house came into view, half-lit, porch covered in snow. There was a generator humming faintly, probably borrowed from a neighbor. I could see Ryan pacing through the window, phone in hand, talking fast, probably about me. I pulled into the driveway slow, headlights cutting across the house, flashing over the frost-coated windows. The snow crunched under the tires. For a second I just sat there watching the place I used to call home, the same porch where Mom used to guilt me into paying bills, the same door Dad used to open with that fake hey champ when he needed a favor. I took a deep breath, grabbed the binder, and killed the engine. The world outside was quiet except for the wind. Time to turn their emergency into accountability. I stepped out, boots sinking into the snow, binder tucked under my arm. The porch light flickered once, then died. Fitting, because by the time I left, they were going to see exactly what happens when they're walking while it stops walking. The porch creaked under my boots as I knocked once and walked in without waiting. The door was unlocked, typical. The smell of burnt candles and leftovers hung in the air. Christmas decorations were still up, fake tree leaning, tinsel drooping, lights tangled around a half-broken reindeer. The place looked festive and miserable at the same time. Mom was sitting at the kitchen table, pale, wringing her hands. Dad was next to her, quiet, eyes sunken like he hadn't slept in days. Ryan was pacing the floor, phone in hand, talking fast into the air. He looked up when I entered, fake confidence dripping off him. "Wow," he said, smirking. "Here comes the hero. Going to save the day again?" "Not this time," I said. I set the binder down on the table. The sound of it hitting wood was sharp, like a gavel. Nobody moved. I pulled out the first set of pages, unfolded them, and slid them forward. "Every payment, every transfer, every fake loan I made to keep this place running," I said. "Let's start with the mortgage." Mom blinked, confused. "What is this supposed to be?" "The truth," I said flatly. I flipped a page. "See that? That's me covering your mortgage for 8 straight months while Ryan here bragged online about his crypto gains. Next was the power bill, then the internet, then groceries, all me." Ryan scoffed. "You're exaggerating." I slid a stack of printed receipts toward him. "You really want to argue math with me? Here's every transaction down to the cent. Mom shot me a glare, fingers clenching over the papers. Family doesn't keep scores. Family doesn't disrespect. Either. I cut her off. Dad rubbed his temples, silent. The old man looked more like a shadow than a father. Ryan crossed his arms. You act like you're some saint. Family helps each other. That's what family does. I glared at him. Family doesn't turn one person into their personal ATM. He rolled his eyes, muttering, here we go, martyr mode again. Something in me snapped. I slammed the binder shut. The sound echoed through the house. You wanted me to apologize for paying your bills. You live off me and I'm the problem. Mom flinched. Dad looked up but said nothing. Ryan straightened, trying to stare me down. You're turning everyone against us, he said, voice rising. You think Grandpa's proud of you? You've poisoned him. You're brainwashing the whole family against us. I took a slow step closer. No, Ryan, I just stopped lying for you. He stepped forward, face red. You think you're better than me? No, I said. I know I'm better than you because I work. That's all it took. He shoved me hard, hands shaking. You don't talk to me like that in my house. Your house? I laughed. You mean the one I've been paying for? He lunged again, this time trying to grab me by the collar. Reflex kicked in. I blocked, pushed back, and he stumbled. The fake confidence drained right off his face. He swung, wild, sloppy, desperate. I ducked, pivoted, and landed one clean hit straight to his jaw. The sound was heavy. A dull thud, chair scraping, Ryan crashing backward onto the floor. Mom screamed, Evan, stop! Dad jumped up, half between us, half frozen. Ryan groaned, clutching his face, eyes wide like he couldn't believe I actually hit him. Maybe that'll knock some sense into you, I said, breathing steady. Try punching a clock next time. For a second, the whole house went dead quiet except for Ryan's labored breathing and the soft hum of the fridge. Mom rushed to him, panicking. Are you okay? He mumbled something through his hand, voice muffled and angry. Dad finally spoke, voice low. Enough. I looked at him. Yeah, it is. I grabbed the binder off the table, sliding it under my arm. I'm done being your backup plan, I said. You want a provider? Look in the mirror, both of you. Mom looked up, tears streaking down her face. Evan, please. No, I interrupted, calm and cold. Please, nothing. You made your choice when you replaced gratitude with entitlement. I nodded toward the papers scattered across the table. You've got all the instructions you need. Who to call, how to pay, what to fix. You'll figure it out. Ryan tried to speak, but it came out as a garbled mess. He spat a little blood onto the tile. You'll regret this, he said, half slurred. I turned toward the door. The only thing I regret is taking this long. When I stepped outside, the air hit hard, cold, crisp, freeing. Behind me, the muffled noise of yelling started up again. Mom's voice sharp, Dad's deep and tired. I didn't look back. Through the windshield, the house looked smaller than I remembered. Dim lights flickering inside, decorations drooping, everything they built on my dime slowly caving in. I put the truck in reverse and backed out of the driveway, tires spitting slush. For once, I didn't feel guilty. I didn't feel angry, just steady. Like I finally clocked out of a job I never applied for. By the time I hit the main road, the house was gone from view. The snow kept falling, soft and silent, covering the mess I left behind. Good. Let it bury it. The snow kept falling that night, blanketing everything in white silence. And just like that, the noise stopped. Not just outside, but in my life. Weeks passed. My phone didn't light up every few hours anymore. No guilt calls, no urgent texts, no fake emergencies disguised as love. Just quiet. Work was steady. I'd been getting home on time, cooking real dinners, actually enjoying the food instead of scarfing it down between crisis calls. The toolbox I bought still shone like it was new, lined up perfectly next to my truck. Every time I saw it, it reminded me I finally spent money on something that was mine. Grandpa called every now and then. How's freedom treating you? He always started with, peaceful, I told him. He laughed that raspy smoker's laugh of his. Careful, kid. They'll try to come crawling back soon. Just keep your boots on so they can't bite your ankles. Don't worry, I said. The boots stay on. He was proud. I could hear it in his voice even when he pretended to be grumpy. He said he'd been watching him scramble, and honestly, it had been kind of funny. But then something shifted. It started small. One night I got a missed call from Dad. No voicemail. A week later, another one. This time I answered. He sounded tired, not angry, not fake humble, just worn out. We set up autopay, he said right away. The mortgage, the utilities, everything's covered. We're handling things ourselves now." I didn't say anything for a second. Then he added, voice cracking just a bit, "I'm sorry, son. We shouldn't have put that on you. I guess I just assumed you could handle it because you always did." I nodded, even though he couldn't see it. "You figured it out," I said simply. He exhaled like he'd been holding that breath for months. "We're trying to. We didn't drag it out. No emotional speech, no dramatic ending, just honesty." For the first time, it felt like he actually saw me. A few days later, Mom called. I expected guilt, excuses, or some half-baked apology. Instead, she just said, "I made dinner. No holiday, no reason. I just miss you." I paused. "What's the catch?" I asked. "No catch," she said softly. "You don't have to bring anything, just yourself." That one landed differently. I told her, "I'll think about it." Then came the last text I ever expected from Ryan. It was short. No attitude, no emojis, no wallet boy, just, "I got a job helping with bills." Should have done it sooner. I read it twice, half expecting a follow-up like, "Can you cover gas till payday?" But it didn't come. Just silence. I didn't reply right away. I left it on read, not out of spite, but because I wanted to believe he meant it. Later that week, Grandpa called again. He didn't waste time with small talk. Heard the freeloaders finally clocked in. I laughed. "Guess so." He chuckled low and proud. "You did good, Evan. You taught them responsibility. You just stopped paying. That's power." "Didn't feel like power," I said. "Just felt like survival." "Same thing sometimes," he said. We talked for a bit, nothing heavy, just two guys catching up. Before hanging up, he said, "You're the first one in this family to break the cycle. Don't let them pull you back into it." "I won't," I promised, and I meant it. A few days later, I was sitting in the same coffee shop where I roasted Aunt Patrice weeks ago. The same barista was behind the counter, probably remembering that day. She spotted me and grinned. "Hey, the legend's back. You want your usual?" I smirked. "Yeah. And make it to stay this time." I grabbed a corner seat, sipped my coffee, and scrolled through my phone. Notifications were boring now. Work updates, a few memes from Mark, nothing dramatic. Then a message popped up from Dad. "Family dinner next week. Your call. No pressure, no guilt, just an open door." I stared at it for a moment, then put my phone down. Out the window, the snow was starting again. Soft, harmless, quiet. I thought about everything that had happened. The binder sitting neatly on my shelf at home, not as a threat, not even as evidence anymore, just a reminder. Proof that I took my life back. I smiled to myself, took another sip of coffee, and thought, guess they finally learned how to turn the lights back on. The bell above the door jingled as someone new walked in, cold air rushing through. I glanced up, then back down at my cup, feeling that rare kind of peace that doesn't come from fixing anyone else, just from knowing I don't have to. For the first time, I don't owe anyone a thing, and it feels damn good.